welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Maisie. Today I'm actually filming my first ever book unhaul. Obviously I have got rid of books in the past, but it's my first one since like being on BookTube, and also it's like my first time ever culling quite a few books. And the reason for this is because I am getting some new bookshelves. Thank God, because I only really have one main bookshelf. I have some smaller shelves upstairs, but I only have one main bookshelf and it's so full. And it just never looks good because I can't fit all of the books on there. I'm having to like create new space. So I'm finally going to get some new bookshelves actually upstairs in the spare bedroom, and hopefully that will be also a good new filming background rather than you always just looking at my living room, which is not that interesting. I'm excited to get those and maybe do a bookshelf tour once I've got them. But yeah, for now I just needed to get rid of some books. So let's get into it. So my process for choosing the books to get rid of are books that either don't really mean anything to me or that I didn't really like. I have kept some books that I didn't like because maybe it's the first in a series and I want to maybe continue with that series, aka Powerless, or maybe I just like the cover. What should we start with? I don't really have any particular order, so let's just get into it. The first book that I'm going to be unhauling is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Now, I'm not entirely sure why I'm unhauling this. I just want to. Did I give this book 4.5 stars or 5 stars? I really enjoyed it when I read it, but that was quite a few years ago. I'm pretty sure it was back in 2020 or whenever this was first published, and I really enjoyed it. And then last year or this year? No, I'm pretty sure it was last year. I read the second book. Well, I listened to the second book and it was fine, but I just don't know if I have any desire to read the third book, and I definitely don't have a desire to buy the other books, so I just kind of not sure what the purpose of having this is. Also, I will be donating most of these to charity shops, so hopefully this will get snatched up. Okay, the next book we have is The One by John Mars. This is the only John Mars book that I have, although I have also read What Lies Between Us? Is that what it's called? I'll put the picture on screen. And I loved that one. And then I read this one, and I have this one physically, obviously, and I just really didn't like it, which is quite sad because the premise sounded so good and so many people said really good things about it. But yeah, it was a thriller that didn't hit for me. I liked the idea of it, but I wasn't invested. I didn't really care. I didn't connect with this one. So this one I will also be unhauling. Next, let's go for Gilded by Marissa Meyer. This is the only Marissa Meyer book I've read. I just really didn't like this. It just wasn't what I expected. It felt very young, and the romance, I really wanted the romance to go in a direction it didn't, and the way that it did go just felt so simple and boring and underwhelming, and yeah, I just didn't really care. I didn't love this one, so it's being unhauled. I do like the cover though. Actually, it's a bit creepy. I don't really like the human face at the back, but I like the overall cover. Okay, next we have Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read most of Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I've not read actually Carrie Soto. I think, is that the only one I've not read? Oh, I've not read Forever Interrupted either. Oh, and maybe I've not read After I Do. So I haven't read most of her books. I've probably read half of them. This is one of her older books, and it was okay, but I just didn't really care. I also don't really love the cover, so I just don't know what the point in keeping this is. Not one of my favourites by her. It was very meh. Should I be telling you what these books are about as I unhaul them? Maybe tell me if that would be helpful, because maybe next time I will. Anyway, that is Maybe in Another Life. Next we have some Colleen Hoover books I'll be unhauling. Firstly, we have November 9th by Colleen Hoover. To say I was disappointed would be an understatement. Everybody bigged this book up massively, and to be honest, I do think more recently this book and a lot of her books, lots of people have said that they didn't enjoy them, but at the time that I picked this one up, it was loads of people's favourites, and I hated this book. I don't say that very often about books, but I really hated this book. I just felt like it was really insta-love. I felt like the twist that everybody says is amazing was not good at all, really predictable. I don't know. I just really hated it. Hated the romance. I'll be getting rid of it. It's a shame because it is quite nice and floppy. And then the other Colleen Hoover book that I'm going to get rid of is All Your Perfects. I didn't hate this one, I just also didn't really care. I was a bit sad because I kind of thought this was going to be more of like a mature romance, which I guess it kind of was, but it was just underwhelming. I don't really have any feelings towards this one. There are Colleen Hoover books that I do like and am keeping. Next we have Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Centre. This is the only Catherine Centre book that I've read so far, although I do have The Bodyguard on my TBR, which I do want to read. To be honest, this is not one of her popular romances, and I can't even remember how I heard about it, but I love firefighters, and this follows a female firefighter, and she has a romance with another firefighter. But it's definitely not just a romance. I think it's classed as women's fiction, a fiction book with like a subplot of romance, but very much a subplot. As I said, I love things about firefighters. Like, I love Chicago Fire, Station 19, all of that. So I was really excited to find a book that follows that, but it was meh. It wasn't for me. And also I accidentally bought the small copy. It's not quite like a mass market paperback, I don't think. Or maybe it is classed as that. Anyway, it's a lot smaller than other books and it just looks a bit annoying on my shelves, and since I don't love it, I'm just gonna get rid of it. So yeah. Okay. Next we have Roomies by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren books are really hit and miss for me. In fact, I think the only one that I absolutely love is The Unhoneymooners, and everything else has been a bit meh. I'm just looking at my shelves to see like if I'm lying. But no, I'm pretty sure that's the only one I've given 5 stars. This one was okay. I gave it 3 stars, but it's definitely nothing amazing. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Can't really remember what the tropes are. I read it quite a long time ago. Also, I don't love the cover, so that's another one to get rid of. Next we have The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. Now, loads of people love this book and I just didn't. Again, I think I went into expecting it to be like an amazing romance, and the romance just wasn't great for me. I think this is definitely a book that like people who aren't romance readers would definitely like, because there is romance, but it's not the whole plot. But for me, I don't know, I just found it a little bit boring and I didn't really enjoy the romance. So yeah, this is an unhaul. I would like to know though, if you've watched the show, is the show good? Should I watch it if I didn't like the book? Let me know. Next, we have 2 Bridgerton books. I have read this one, The Duke and I, but I have not read The Viscount Who Loved Me. I just don't really ever feel any desire to read these. I kind of was forced to read this one, and then I just have had this on my TBR cart for such a long time and I just don't want to read it. So I'm just gonna unhaul it. I bought both of these like secondhand for like £2 each, so I'm not too upset about getting rid of a book that I've not read. I don't have any desire to read the whole series. The only one that I really wanted to read is this one, which is funny because I've not even read it. But after reading the first one, I just think, ugh, I may as well just like rewatch the TV show. No more thoughts. I'm getting rid of these 2 Bridgerton books. I then have another Christina Lauren book actually, and this is Something Wilder. This was like a romance with like a treasure hunt vibe. I just hated it. Did I hate it? No, I wouldn't say hate it. I just didn't like it. I just was not having a good time reading it. It was one of those books I just couldn't wait to finish. I just wanted it to be over. So yeah, this is one that I'm getting rid of. This is probably my least favourite Christina Lauren book that I've read. It was definitely worse than Roomies. It's going, I don't think that book did very well, to be honest, because I think it came out a year or 2 ago. Yeah, probably like a couple of years ago, and I never see anybody talking about it. Okay, this one is going to be controversial, but if you have seen my March reading wrap up, you will know that I have unfortunately decided to DNF the Addicted Calloway sister series, and these are the only 4 books that I own. These 3 I actually all really liked. I gave Kiss the Sky 4 stars, Hot House Flower like 4.5 stars, Thrive 4 stars, and then I DNF'd Addicted after all. Although I did like these books, I just don't have any desire to keep reading them, and I don't own the whole series, so I don't know what the point in keeping these 4 books are. The first few I read on Kindle, then I randomly bought some physically, and I don't want to buy the rest of them, so I'm just going to unhaul because I don't just want 4 random books, especially of a series that I'm DNFing. I know that so many people love this series, and don't get me wrong, I read up to here a while ago. I like took a big break here for some reason, and I enjoyed them But then when I tried to get back into it and read this book, I just feel like it's not for me anymore. I just wasn't enjoying it, and I would rather DNF and not ruin my positive thoughts that I have about this series. I love Reich and Daisy, for example, and I don't want to ruin them for myself. So yeah, I've just decided to DNF this series, and I'm really sorry because I know that loads of people love this series and that will probably upset lots of people. Now we have a few nostalgic books, which actually kind of hurts me to get rid of. So these next 3 books, I read all of them. How old would I have been? Maybe when I was like 16, something like that. And I actually think that Zoella spoke about these books when she used to do like some book videos, I think. And especially that's how I heard of Page Tune, the one we fell in love with, and I really loved this book. It's basically about 3 sisters all being in love with the same guy, but it's actually very sad, and I loved it when I read it, but I don't have the desire to keep this. It's also pretty battered. I've literally just noticed that the cover has fully come off the book, so I'm not really sure what to do with this one. I don't know if anybody's gonna want to buy this from a charity shop. I don't know, I need to work out what to do with this. Maybe I can just recycle it somehow. I did really enjoy this book, and I'm glad that I read it. It was a time in my life, but I'm not gonna ever reread it. Yeah, I just don't know why I would keep it. And then the other 2 are Billy and Me and Always With Love by Giovanni Fletcher. Again, I think I read these when I was about 16. I absolutely love them. I fell in love with Billy from Billy and Me, and I like wanted to have my own movie star boyfriend. I mean, who doesn't when they're 16? But yeah, I absolutely loved these books, gobbled them up, and it makes me a little bit sad to get rid of them, but also okay, we now have some extra guests in the video. Willow, you're gonna have to get out of the camera because that's gonna be really annoying for people. Sorry, Ollie just burst in with the dogs and he's now going to the gym, so I can't even remember exactly where I got to other than saying I loved these books when I read them, but I know that if I read them now, I wouldn't, and I don't want to ruin them for myself. Okay, next we have Milkman by Anna Burns. Again, this is a book that I read not that long ago. I probably read it like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and this is a book about the Troubles in Ireland. So it's a very interesting topic and not something that I've ever read about before. It is a fiction book, it's not non-fiction, but it's set during the Troubles. But I just remember finding it so hard to read. I think like the way that it's written and the dialect, like also just look at that, like there's like no speaking. I don't know if my camera's focused. I don't know if my camera focused, but it was just really hard to read and I didn't really like it. I do think it's quite a nice cover, but again, why would I keep this? I'm not gonna keep it. Okay, and then we have The Rosy Result by Graham Simsion? I actually don't know how you pronounce that. This is the 2nd or 3rd book in the Rosie Project series. Okay, yeah, I think this is the 3rd book. So there's the Rosie Project, the Rosie Effect, and then the Rosie Result. And I read the first books because my mum had them, and then she bought me this one. So this is the only one that I own, but I just don't want to just keep the 3rd book in a series to run this. In fact, I might see if my mum wants this, but she probably won't. I do like this series. It's basically about an autistic man and him wanting to find a wife. But it's really fun and also quite sad and emotional. I can't specifically remember what this book is about, but yeah, I do like the series, but I just don't want to just have the 3rd book in the series, and I don't want to buy the other 2, so because I'm not going to reread it. So yeah, I'll be getting rid of this one. And again, I think this is probably a good one for charity shops because it's quite like a well-known popular series, I think. Next we have How Not to Fall in Love Actually by Catherine Bonetto. I did like this at the time that I read it. It wasn't amazing. I actually can't remember what's this about. So basically I think like the main character gets pregnant when she's 27, but then breaks up with the father, and then she's like just kind of going through life, and I think there is like a new romance as well. This was fine, I liked it. Again, I read this like 5 years ago. It was like a random book that my mum bought me when I was getting back into reading. She must have just seen it at a bookshop, I think. I have no desire to keep this book. It's just taking up space on my shelf and I don't really remember much about it, as you can tell. So yeah. And then the last book that I will be unhauling, actually this is another Colleen Hoover book. whoops. This is Confess by Colleen Hoover. I was really excited to read this one. I'd actually seen, I think there's a mini series, which I've never watched because I think for a long time like you couldn't watch it in the UK. Might be able to now, to be honest. I might have a look. But anyway, I saw like some clips of that show and it looked amazing, and I saw that it was based on a Colleen Hoover book. So I picked up and read the book. However, I didn't like the book, and now I don't know if I would want to go back and watch the show. Again, just like the romance in this was like really disappointing, unrealistic, kind of insta-lovey. I don't know, like just wasn't, it wasn't for me. So yeah, that's another unhaul. I actually do like this cover quite a lot. But yeah, I'm going to be getting rid of this one. That is 23 books that I am unhauling. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you liked any of these, if you also didn't like any of these like me. Hopefully you enjoyed. I have a feeling I'm going to have to be doing more unhaul videos because the rate that I am like buying and reading physical books these days, we're just going to be running out of space. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye!